Find $500 to $2,000 in hidden money leaks. Organize your cash flow and create a money system that actually works with the Money Hunt found inside the Smell of Money community. Join today. The link is in the show notes. In the Smell of Money, a school community hosted by yours truly, Lisa Drennan, founder of I Date Money, a wealth activator, creator of the Money Multiplier System. I know what it's like to feel broke. At age 22, single mom, I filed for bankruptcy. For decades, I lived on a restricted budget, saving 30% and not paying attention to my money. In my 40s, I racked up $100,000 and didn't understand what my problem was until I realized money problems aren't math problems. They're relationship problems, because women don't need another budget. They need a money management system that works. That's why every episode and every conversation we have in the Smell of Money community is designed to help you create cash flow, confidence, and wealth. We turn messy money into an organized system so you can make confident decisions to build true wealth. Join the Smell of Money today. The link is in the show notes. If you're tired of feeling shame about past financial decisions, worried you'll never achieve financial stability, and ready for a clear plan to take control of your money and experience true financial freedom, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Lisa, wealth activator, independent insurance broker, and your guide to rewriting your money story. I learned the secret to creating financial freedom and stability after divorce, and I'm ready to share it with you. If you're ready for steady, stress-free income, clarity with your money, and the confidence to spend without guilt, grab your favorite essential oil, take a deep breath, and let's sniff our way through the smell of money. Denied. You ever stand in the grocery store and think, is this credit card going to go through? Am I going to be okay? You know, one of the things that's the most scariest that we have to face after divorce is whether or not our cards are going to work. Did he turn them off? And then you go to swipe the card, your breath is held, your chest is tight. Please work, please work. And then it does. Big sigh of relief. Have you been there? It's not a good place to be. Not knowing whether or not you have money available to you is probably one of the scariest things that we go through after divorce or through a divorce. And then even years later, that panic button still sets in because we're not paying attention to our money. And if this sounds like you, then I want you to hop on a call and find out exactly where your money is going. In a Profit Power Hour call, we will go through your entire financials and say, hey, this is where we can do better. You can click the link in the show notes to book your call today. It is complimentary, and it is one great way to focus on where your money is going. Today, we are going to be spending time with the founder and senior wealth advisor of Intentional Wealth Partners and Intentional Divorce Solutions, who specializes in helping women navigate divorce and major life transitions with clarity and confidence. Her new book, Intentional Money, helps women take control of their finances and build lasting independence. Thank you so much, Leah, for being here. Tell us about your journey.
Absolutely. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Lisa. It took me a while to figure money out. I will tell you, I have a master's degree in education. So I was a teacher and I financed my education. So I was drowning in student loan debt. I was completely burnt out in the classroom. I was in a very tough school and found my way into a temp job that happened to be at an investment bank. And when I entered that investment bank, literally, I felt like everybody around me was speaking a foreign language. I did not have the vocabulary around wealth creation, wealth management. It was completely foreign to me. And so that was an eye-opening experience. Here I was feeling like an educated individual, realizing that there was this whole part of the world that I had no knowledge of. And I was very, very fortunate. I had some wonderful, wonderful mentors at that firm, was brought in as an administrative assistant at that time, and was able to work my way up in the equity research department to become a research associate. And then later went to another firm and became a publishing senior equity research analyst. So I was covering consumer durables, so individual stocks for big institutional investors. Mutual funds, hedge funds, pension funds were our clients. And then ultimately decided that, I wanted to have a family and working in equity research wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted when I had kids. And so I went to a firm and started working with individuals and families and, took all of that investment knowledge that I had and brought it and very quickly found that that particular firm had a certain way of doing business that works for some people. But I really like to think outside of the box and I like to meet people where they're at. And so I found that that wasn't the right fit for me. And I tried another firm for a size and ultimately decided that wasn't a good fit either. And so, after being in the industry for about 10 years in 2016, I decided I was going to open up my own firm. And so this year we're going to celebrate our 10-year anniversary.
Wow, well, congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I think it starts with just giving ourselves some grace, right? Nobody comes out of the womb knowing how to manage money well. And so a lot of times when I'm talking to people for the first time, they're saying things to me like, I should know this, or I should have done this, or they're just should. And the fact of the matter is, financial management, financial literacy is so much more than just knowledge and education. It's actually understanding how to take that first step. And a lot of times there's a lot of emotional block around being able to take that first step, right? And so we have a membership program called the Empowered Sisterhood that literally the whole purpose of it is to break down the barriers around communicating around money. Let's talk about it. Let's have conversations about it. Let's create space where it's comfortable to ask questions. So many people hold on to those questions for years or desperately Googling in the middle of the night because they're stressed about money and maybe getting information that doesn't really apply to their situation or they don't know how to apply it to their situation, right? So for me, financial literacy is more than just kind of understanding or stepping up your education, but it's really breaking down the barriers around communicating about money so you can ask for help when you need it.
And it's so important to break those barriers and establish healthy boundaries. That's why we date money. So every week we sit down with money and we talk to it and write it letters and, think about what kind of relationship we do want to have. The psychology of money is just as important as the financial aspect. But a lot of our listeners are, going through a divorce or have been divorced for a few years and they're rebuilding their finances. And I know you support them in that way. What was your journey like for you to want to be able to help them get through this time in their lives?
Yeah, when I first went through my divorce, my kids were pretty young at the time. And, that very first year after our divorce was like torture going back and forth between the houses. We were still angry with each other. We just hadn't found our footing. And, we got divorced in a time where, now everybody's arguing over the beautiful equity that people have created in their houses. But we bought our house in 2007, right before the market crashed. So when we went through our divorce in 2015, it was who's going to get stuck with the house, not who gets the house. And I got stuck with the house. So trying to make sure that I was covering the mortgage every month and just the weight, right, of having the kids rely on me and the mortgage and all of that. But I also found at the same time, Lisa, that it was really hard for me to just kind of keep a regular job because, the kids had needs. There were appointments with the schools, appointments with therapists, things like that. And so going out on my own and creating my own business really gave me the opportunity to have ownership over what my life was going to look like, how I wanted to parent, that kind of a thing. But of course, it was also starting from scratch and starting from nothing and having to build. And that was terrifying at a time when I really needed the income, right? But I quickly found that it was just for me too much to try to navigate having a traditional kind of 9 to 5 job and 3 kids with the needs that they had. I just wasn't able to make that work. So for me, being in business back for myself, yes, there's obviously the stress of growing that business, but I really needed that flexibility at that time in my life.
Yeah, and it's so important to have that flexibility. And I know a lot of people that have 9 to 5s, the employers are more generous with giving them that time so that they can take care of their families and they might work extended hours or what have you. But a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs. Some of them are still working 9 to 5s, building building their business so that they can stop being a 9 to 5er. What gave you the courage to be able to do that, being a newly single person, mom with, all these financial responsibilities? What was it that drove you to be able to have this successful business 10 years later?
So one of the things that I talk about in the book is really earning with intentionality and thinking about the lifestyle that you want, not just in terms of like income, how much income do I need, but really lifestyle, right? Like how much flexibility do I need? What do I want my work to look like? What do I want my business to look like, right? And so for me, it took a while to figure that out. I tried different things. I had very highly developed analytical skills, so I did all kinds of different analysis projects, but ultimately found that doing the work that I do now is just so personally rewarding that was so motivating, right? When we support people through the divorce process and they're able to go through that with greater clarity and feel stronger on the other side instead of feeling depleted on the other side, I just feel like we've made such a huge impact on people's lives that it just inspires me every single day.
Mm. And it's important to have that support because it is a time where, you feel alone. It's a life change. You lose friends, family, routines are completely different. The holidays are completely different. And there's a lot of lies that we believe when we're going through that process. What are some of the lies that you believed while you were going through that?
There's so much negativity around even the word divorce, right? That when people are going through this process, it's almost like they feel like they have to close the blinds and turn off the lights and it all has to kind of happen in secrecy, right? And I think the more that we can talk about things, bring things to the light, have open conversations, and allow people to feel like they're in the driver's seat. So many people approach the divorce process as a reactive process, and it
Yeah.
absolutely can be if you let it be, it will be, but it doesn't have to be, right? We can bring intentionality to it. We can be proactive through the process and make decisions, put ourselves in the driver's seat. But it's a choice, and it's a choice that has to be made over and over again. It's not an easy choice, but if you do put yourself in that position, it makes it so much easier on the other side.
So, what inspired you to write the book?
So the book is called Intentional Money, The Modern Woman's Guide to Building Wealth, Purpose, and Peace. And what we teach in our Empowered Sisterhood program is the intentional money method. So the intentional money method is based on 6 pillars. It starts with clarity. Clarity is not just about your numbers, but it's also about what you want for yourself, what you want for your life. And we talk about values and really looking at values not as something that's aspirational, but as a lens in terms of decision making. What are your priorities? And allowing those to really be your kind of compass as you go forward. When we talk about mindset, think especially for people who are going through divorce or recently divorced, divorce can trigger a lot of stuff from your childhood, from former relationships. There's just a lot of stuff that comes up when people are going through this huge life change. And so recognizing it, acknowledging it, and noticing where some of the messaging that might be coming up in our minds is maybe not supportive of how we want to move forward and letting those things go and really looking for or kind of rewiring with messaging that does set us up for success. That is positive influence for how we move forward. And then the last three that are kind of what you think more traditionally around financial planning, and that's strategy, action, and support. But we think that, initially going in and having the clarity, knowing what your values are and having some awareness around your mindset, that's what sets you up for having a successful implementation of your strategy, right?
Mm.
And the book is ultimately a culmination of sitting across from women for the last decade who have going through difficult life experiences and what they're sharing with me, what their experiences have been like, and how we can really look at transforming their relationship with money so they can create and protect wealth going forward.
I love that. It's such a valuable book to be able to share with the audience. So, thank you for writing that and inspiring everyone. Tell us, what's the best financial advice that you've ever received?
So it's interesting. My grandmother, who lived through the Depression, used to always say to me, "They can take everything from you except for your education." And I truly believe that when you invest in yourself and you invest in your education and you believe in yourself, that is absolutely the best investment you can make.
Absolutely agree with that. You are your best investment, and a lot of
Mhm.
women are afraid to invest in themselves. And I know I'll hop on a sales call, and women are so afraid to talk about their finances. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs initially who commingle their business with their personal finances, and they don't have a business plan in place or a financial plan in place, and they're just kind of winging it, thinking, I need more sales training, I need more marketing, I need PR, I need this. I like to call it the shiny object syndrome. So they buy all this shiny object syndrome and then they don't do anything with it. And this creates chaos and leaks are it's a huge money leak. And so when we think about having those structures in place, the business plan, the financial plan is so important, especially, trusting yourself to be able to implement that. So many of the listeners out there do not trust themselves, thinking, I'm going to mess up, and subconsciously reflecting back on what happened throughout the marriage. Some of them never even controlled finances. So, really having that clarity in place is so important, and having those boundaries set up so that we can make our money work for us. So when you work with clients, do you help them establish a portfolio when they are to the point of investing?
Yeah, we work with people in all different phases of their life. So it really just depends on where they're at. Certainly, if they're new to investing, we can start establishing a portfolio. If they've settled a divorce, they're responsible for their investments for the first time, we can certainly help them with that as well. But sometimes, a lot of times, most of people's retirement savings or wealth creation is actually in their 401ks, which is totally fine. So we do fee-only financial planning, even if we don't manage investments for people. And so that's especially helpful for people who might be getting close to retirement, but maybe they do have all of their wealth tied into their employer's retirement account. We can still make sure they're on track and they have what they need to retire.
So, do you just work with people in your own state, or are you across the nation?
We work with people all over the country. We have one of our planners is in California and one is in Texas. And then some of us are here in Ohio.
Oh, wonderful. So what's the best way for our audience to connect with you?
The best way to connect with me would be through the Intentional Wealth Partners website. So www.intentionalwealthpartners.co. And my email is leah@intentionalwealthpartners.co.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here, Leah, for sharing your story and your expertise in your book. Tell the audience where they can get a hold of your book.
Absolutely. So go to Amazon, Intentional Money, The Modern Woman's Guide to Building Wealth, Purpose, and Peace.
Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments and we will get back to them after the show to answer them. And when you think about your money, when you think about that financial literacy and thinking it sounds like a foreign language, it probably does. And it's okay. This isn't something that we grew up knowing. Sometimes, we hear the words and it's like, we got so much going on. We don't even stop to think about what it means. And this is where support, mentorship comes into play. So reach out, know that you're not alone and that there is support and there's no shame or guilt in asking for help. This is what accelerates that wealth so that you can have money come in all ways, always. Because remember, it doesn't matter how much money you have, it's what you do with it. Hey, mompreneurs, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, please follow the show and share it with a friend who's rebuilding her finances after divorce. No spreadsheets, no restrictive budgets, only confidence to build financial freedom. Also, please drop a quick 5-star review so more moms starting over can find this. It lights me up to know this podcast is helping you. Inhale confidence, exhale scarcity. I'll meet you back on Tuesday for another episode. It doesn't matter how much money you have, it's what you do with it.